Of all the ingredient deep dive videos I've made so far and will ever make, the milk video is the easiest one, and at the very least for now, maybe there is another ingredient specialist Pokemon that does carry the milk, but at this time, there is just a single Pokemon that has milk as an option as an ingredient specialist, and that is Blastoise. For the most part, we have Blastoise, and I can mention then Persian, Arcanine, and the Eevee line. And that's it for the milk. So if you're looking for milk, Blastoise is gonna be it, pretty much. And in terms of the order of this video, we're actually just gonna rapid fire it at the beginning here, and then go into the deep dive on what kind of Blastoise you should be looking for. Just because the milk is so rare in terms of what Pokemon has it. So you have the Persian, you have the whole Eevee line, maybe we'll get back to that a little bit later, and then you have Arcanine. And that's it. So Persian is a possibility here for the triple milk, but it is a skill specialist. Overall, I would put it in the F tier. It's just not a good Pokemon. Maybe you can make the case for a D tier, but yeah, Persian, just not a Pokemon you should use. And then Arcanine has a milk in that last spot after all that spicy herbs. So we have the skill specialists here. There's not a single berry Pokemon that carries the milk. That could be interesting. Maybe there is a berry specialist with a psychic, berry that could carry corn and milk. That could be an interesting combo. But for the most part, we're going to jump back to the Sylveon and the Blastoise. I think we can cover the Sylveon pretty quickly here. The reason is if you have an energy for every one healer Pokemon that is a Sylveon, then you're going to get quite a lot of milk. The other thing you're going to find is the Cacao potentially, and that will be the same for all the Eeveelutions. So be it Flareon, Glaceon, Espeon, Vaporeon, then you're looking at these dessert heavy ingredients. You preferably don't want the bean sausage for the most part because it doesn't really combo well with these other ingredients. And for the most part, the Eeveelutions are very valued for their skills. So even the ingredient list shouldn't be too important in your consideration. So we're left with Blastoise. Blastoise is overall, at the very least, an A tier Pokemon. It could be argued that it is an S tier Pokemon just because it is the only Pokemon that does milk. And surprise, surprise, it does it really well. It is fast, it has decent inventory, evolve it from Squirtle, and the inventory here is 27. 27 on that ingredient drop rate is insane. And at that point, we can just put the milk here. Let's see. It's got a low value, unfortunately. It is the second lowest value. I think something like this is the order. I don't have it in my head completely, but we do the Moomoo Milk. And then we have it's not the tomato. Is it the egg? No, it's definitely not the egg. What is it that I'm thinking of? Oh, apple, of course. There we go. So the list is something like this. It's one of the bottom tier ingredients in terms of value, but there are a lot of high tier dessert Pokemon that really needs a lot of milk. And so overall, definitely an ingredient Pokemon that you should be on the lookout for. Blastoise is fairly fast, and to an extent, you could make the berry finding argument on the Blastoise, because then at the very least that's Cyan Beach, and overall with the berry value of the Oranberry, which is high, then you do have a bit of that extra value. With 27% here on the ingredient rate, you can either go for something like the Rash Nature, where or actually the Mild is better here in case of a potential ingredient magnet S. That could be pretty strong on the Blastoise, maybe even more so than the berry finding to an extent, just because if you find that skill level up M in the first spot, then it does add up well at level 5. And 2% is a decent skill rate as a non-skill specialist, And so something like this could be pretty nice. You definitely do not want like the skill trigger M here. That's just going to clog up too many of your sub skills. So if you do find the skill level up M, I would recommend you to find one that does the ingredient finder here, and potentially also the helping speed. So something like this would be a dream scenario Blastoise. The most important thing though is just to make sure you get triple milk. For sure the triple milk, because it is the only Pokemon that does milk, and overall Blastoise is a really good Pokemon to use, and so you really can carry that milk potential all the way to level 60. The big, like, I'm not even gonna pronounce that weird. It's the star symbol, you know. The exception here with the Blastoise is there aren't too many Pokemon that does Cacao either. So to an extent, despite the Blastoise being an incredible Mono Milk Pokemon, you could make the case for a potential Cacao in here somewhere, like a double milk and then Cacao. That could work out well just because it stacks well with Dessert Week. But for the most part, in my opinion, you really, at the very least, want to go for double milk. If you go for milk, cacao, cacao, I do think you're going to run into some shortages on the milk overall, unless you also have some supplemental milk, which sounds funny, from the Sylveon. So it depends a little bit on your collection, but for the most part, I do think the cacao is better collected from the Absol. And I mean, it is a strong value ingredient, and you have a tremendous ingredient rate here. So for example, if you go for the double cacao, despite that, you may want to just go all in on the ingredient finder here and look for a Blastoise something like this for the milk double cacao. Double cacao for sure is quite strong, and with the ingredient magnet, maybe over time you can stack up a little bit on the milk, especially if you have a Mono Milk Vaporeon on the side. That could work out just fine. But in my opinion, I think the double and triple milk options are much better, and particularly if you find the double milk, just because the Blastoise then at level 30 will do its job very nicely. Overall, if you do find that milk cacao milk pattern, that could also be strong, but you won't really see Blastoise, the true potential of it, until level 60, because then you get a great blend of milk and quite a decent chunk of cacao as well. So overall, I would say the milk specialist here is for sure Blastoise. It's the only option at this point in time, and there's always a discussion here. Do you want one cacao, double cacao, no cacao? And that's where a good community comes in. I recommend you for sure to join the Nerdhard Discord server. That is a great consideration. It does have an entry fee, so you have to pay a one-time, the very least, support donation here to the channel to get access. But the reason there is I do have a very good focus on keeping that community great. It is against cheating, and in the overall Pokemon community, you can't deal with that unless you have some sort of security measures. And a consequence of people breaking the rules or being unpleasant and stuff like that is that, well, you have to pay to get back in instead of just making a new user and that whole hamster wheel. So overall, I would say the Nerdhard Discord server has been really, really great. Basically no need for moderation for the most part, because the people that do decide on joining are of such high caliber that you just get straight to having great conversations and great discussions on these Pokemon. And there's a decent amount of you that are interested in these Pokemon Sleep videos that have hopped on over, and for that I thank you. I can mention Liam and another JP, and it's just been a very good time talking about it all. So Brovini has a great Discord as well. It can be recommended. For Pokemon Sleep, thankfully, the cheating issue is not a big deal. I haven't really thought about it at all, at the very least not in comparison to the main series, which is just rotten. So overall, I hope you found this video interesting, and you can leave a like if you found it helpful. Let's see which side it's going to be on. On the right side today. That's great. Thank you for watching.